Matty Loves Podcast. Matty Loves Podcast.
Welcome everyone to episode 16 of Matty Loves Podcast. I'm your host, MATT de SIMONE. This is continuing the Halloween primer as we run out October here with some Halloween goodness. I'm joined as always by Dr. Tom Lucas. How are you doing, good doctor?
I am doing very well, thank you.
Or good shaman, I guess I should say.
Yeah, we're working the street shaman thing.
Yeah.
We had real doctor Josh Bagley on for a couple shows, and he has convinced me that my next book should use this character. A street shaman who uses geekdom somehow. I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, well, the shaman has got to be the character that you need to push the protagonist into the right direction.
Well, yeah, obviously, it's kind of been done with Transmetropolitan, because like when I see street shaman, I think like, geekdom and all that. I think of Transmetropolitan, but I don't know, some kind of Burroughs meets Hunter S. Thompson meets the geek world kind of thing. Very rough idea, but I'm thinking about it.
Well, right on, yeah. So I got Tom with me as always, and then our guest this week. We've had a string of guests now.
It's been a great month, man.
Yeah, for quite a few. Oh my gosh, this is the part that freaked me out the most. We've got our good buddy Mike FERRARO here with us, a friend, a filmmaker. Thank you so much for coming and chilling and talking with us for a little bit here.
That's probably the first time someone's actually called me that title, but I like it.
Hey,
you
man,
are.
I'm good at
you
that.
Are indeed.
If you take off, then
filmmaker.
at least I'll know. I was the first one that looked at him and said, "You are a filmmaker."
Yeah, I like that.
So, and also, while we're sitting here, we've got John Carpenter's Halloween playing, the original, the best, the baddest. My personal favorite film ever made in creation of film. A lot of people can just narrow it down to one. Some can. I
got that keyboard riff
you have
constantly running through my head, right?
All the time.
All the time.
When I get creeped out at night, because
Yeah.
my new street has no street lights, so I always think about that.
No.
Do you have a cut preference? Like, do you like the TV cut?
Well,
or
no.
theatrical?
It was interesting when you first got here and you asked me what cut of the film this was because
I'm a nerd.
Yeah, but no, but you also you like to make movies too. Look at that piece of there's like a leaf in her hair.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Shot in Northern California.
Yeah, this plume of smoke that went in front of what's her name's face was totally John Carpenter smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
And he just left it in there. But anyway, I think for me, this is okay. So the DVD copy, I really want the Blu-ray set of all the Halloween films. But this copy right here, I've had for a long time. But I definitely prefer this over the television. The first time I watched it on TV, they added this scene with Dr. Loomis talking to everybody. But the only problem with the TV cut was there were commercials. Mm-hmm. So
it kills the mood, man.
I used to have a VHS copy that had the TV cut on it.
Get out of here!
Yeah.
I went through a period of time when I was in high school to where I bought the 28th anniversary 1998 copy, and then I bought this
That
double.
was the one in the hard shell with the orange tapes in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And the one before that, they had this hard shell case that had Michael Myers' face on it, and you could barely see.
Yeah.
And I had that copy too because it was widescreen.
Yeah.
But I think that actually came out before the orange tapes came out. But yeah, totally, man. I was obsessed with this film. Me and my buddies in high school, we filmed the sequel. We filmed Halloween H2O before H2O came out.
Really?
And we chopped Michael's head off at the very end. So when we saw her chop his head off, we wanted to scream. Yeah. Because we were like, the microchip, they know something. How do they know?
It's time to get litigious.
Yes. I played a character who was a prisoner at, a prisoner at Smith's Grove with Michael, and both of them managed to escape on the same night. When I'm introed in the film, I'm walking down the street and I have these bootcut jeans on, and for some reason they thought they looked like bell bottoms, and they play Jungle Boogie. The director put Jungle Boogie in over that.
Where can I see this?
Oh man, I really need to get a copy from him. He lives in Wilmington, North Carolina.
I would pay good money to see this, man.
Yeah, well, I might need to get on that.
I'd pay bad money too, but
but yeah, we had a rap video in the middle of it and everything.
Really?
High school movie, you know.
Right.
We had to get tongue-in-cheek with it a little bit, but definitely, you know, we tried to get serious. We actually filmed in a graveyard. This sounds so terrible. And we were just searching for a good spot to film, and we found a good spot to film. And I just looked down, and the grave right there said Myers with nothing else on it.
Oh, stop
we
it.
flipped out. This is like 3 a.m. in the dark with the flashlight.
Yeah.
You know, you come up on that, and you're like, what? This is perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so...
awesome. That's the thing I like about this film, too, because it's so ambiguous. Like, you don't really know who Jamie Lee Curtis is in relation to Michael Myers. So when you see the tombstone on the bed, like, later on when all this stuff's going down, and you're kind of like, who is this?
The only thing you can put together is the fact that, oh, okay, he is still thinking about his older sister that he killed, so to reenact whatever happened, he's found these girls because they just so happened to be around when he was cruising the boulevard. Well, she's the first, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode's the first one he sees.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very serendipitous, you know, that she goes to the old Myers house to drop off a key.
Not knowing that she used to live there.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's also weird that her step-parents or adopted parents would send her to that house.
Right. Yeah. She
All
doesn't,
things
she
considered.
doesn't know,
remember.
Harold. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But Jamie Lee Curtis's style in this film, too, what she wears, I mean, is
Do you know who her parents are in real life?
best. Yeah, Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh.
Janet Leigh, yeah. Great parents.
Yeah, I know, right?
I just watched Psycho the other day, actually.
Who
For
triggered...
the umpteenth time.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Oh, the original, not the Vince Vaughn classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're sitting here. We got Halloween spinning, really nice right now. I really do need to get a Blu-ray copy of this. But we're just gonna be sitting here talking more or less about just the things that obviously we have John Carpenter playing right now. So
let's talk John Carpenter. Let's start with
We
that.
talk about John Carpenter for...
right. Your first experience with John Carpenter and realizing that he was that guy. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's that guy.
Well,
Because Escape from New York and Halloween kind of came across like my radar around the same period of time.
Yeah.
And I always thought, for the longest time, I was like, the music in both of those movies is so it's the same.
I'm pretty sure I saw Halloween on TV first.
Okay.
I don't know how old I was at the time, but I distinctly remember seeing it on TV and being pretty horrified by it, being pretty scared.
That wasn't one of those movies you went to the theater to go see, though.
No, but we've talked about it before. You'd find the kid at school who had gone to see it, and he would relay the whole plot to you beat by beat. You know,
that was the way Halloween 4 was.
Right, and then you get so freaked out by the movie that's in your head that nothing could ever be put on the screen that would be as scary. But I'm pretty sure. And then the next time he shows up in my life is I can't sleep. I'm still a young kid, and for some reason, Assault on Precinct 13 is on late at night, and I'm watching it on a little black and white TV that I had in my room, and the scene that I turned on was when they jack an ice cream truck.
Okay.
And a kid comes up to the truck, and they shoot the kid.
Brutal.
What?
You've never seen this movie? Oh, dude, put it on your list right now.
All right,
It's so
Assault
good.
on
It
Precinct.
may actually
Did
be
that
on...
come out after this?
No, before.
Yeah.
Oh, this was before.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of his earlier
Yeah.
works.
Oh, all right.
And the guy who shoots this kid is super extra creepy, slimy, nasty looking.
Yeah, it's
that image.
It's a
burned
brutal movie
into my memory,
Yeah.
and I couldn't even get on with the rest of the movie.
Yeah. They remade that with Ethan Hawke. Not great.
not
And
at all.
this name did sound familiar when you first said that. I was like, well, that kind of sounds recent.
But then we get to Escape from New York, and here's my little. First of all, I love Escape from New York.
Me too.
Love, love, love. I don't even know how many times I've seen it. I had the board game. I had action I don't know. Snake Plissken, highly underused.
They could have James Bonded
Oh
the
my
shit
god,
out of him, man.
highly underused character. So Escape from New York comes out the theater, and at the time my mother was married to this guy who went to the movies every weekend, and he said, "What do you want to see this week?" I said, "Escape from New York." Right. We get to the weekend, and he says, "No, we're going to go see the new James Bond movie instead." And I had a temper tantrum. I exploded.
Did you win?
I did.
Yes! Was that during Moonraker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. I exploded. I said, no, you said we were going to see Escape from New York, and I just, like, I went crazy, ape shit all over the house. And so he gave in, and you know what? I'm damn glad.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know when I would have had a chance to see it after that, you know? Wow. And so I don't regret that temper tantrum at all. And I was a kid, so, you know, I'm allowed.
Yeah. Movies like that, kind of, when I was growing up, they sort of, I don't know, they freaked me out in a way because, you know, they lay it all out for you in the beginning of the state of the world, you know, and I'm thinking...
And it's always horrible.
And I'm like, is this what the future's going to be like, man? Like, when Demolition Man came out, I was older, you know, but I was still, like, in my early teens, if not a teenager yet when it came out.
93.
Yeah, so I was, like, 12. And it was like, you know, I just couldn't...
Escape from New York, too, was a real response to rising crime rates in the cities.
Yeah.
Okay, the 80s were the peak.
Especially New York.
Yes, in New York. Were the peak for crime in urban areas to this date. Right. Okay, even the 90s and 2000s, the numbers don't even compare. Yeah. In the 80s, it was an all-time high, and that is what led to a lot of... police departments becoming paramilitary in style, LAPD, etc., was in response to, well, how do we address the crime? So Escape from New York is, and it's such an implausible idea. Let's take our biggest port city and just turn it into a prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous idea on all levels. For sure. God, I love it.
Yeah,
it's
really definitely, man.
And recently, Carpenter was in the news because Luc Besson's company put out that movie Lockout, which I actually loved. And the first time I saw it, I said, wow, I wish this was a Snake Plissken movie, because it is a Snake Plissken movie. It just has Guy Pearce in it.
Have you not seen Lockout?
No.
You should.
Well, Mr. Ferraro.
It's basically... So here's the plot.
Regale us.
There is a prison outside of the Earth.
Okay.
It's like a satellite or something. Maggie Grace, who is the daughter in Taken, is the president's daughter, much like the plot from Escape from L.A. And she goes to the planet. Prisoners escape, and they kidnap her, and then they send in Guy Pearce, who is basically Snake Plissken without an eye patch. And the whole movie, even the way it ends, is escape from Earth, is what I would call it.
Yeah, no, there's these documents he wants. They want him to get the documents.
He has a wisecracking attitude. He has like a gruff voice. He's Snake Plissken. So John Carpenter, I guess, sued EuropaCorp, who produced the movie, and he won.
Yeah.
But
They won for plagiarism.
Yeah, but
because they saw enough commonalities. It's interesting because they talked about, well, certain things are just tropes, and you can't copyright a trope. Tropes can't plagiarize, but there are enough similarities that they're like, no, this is Escape from New York.
Yeah, and it is. And if you watch Escape from New York, Escape from LA, and then Lockout, it feels like a trilogy. It just doesn't have Kurt Russell in it.
Feels like a trilogy with one plot.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see Escape from LA?
Sure.
I absolutely love Escape from LA, and I think Escape from LA is criminally underrated because Carpenter made that movie before the remake wave came.
Right.
And I feel like, because Kurt Russell co-wrote that with him.
But
and
a lot
I feel
of people didn't like it because it was like, you know...
It's the same movie, but comedy.
But it was also like, you know, they did a lot with effects in that film too, didn't they?
Yeah, but I think it's because Carpenter was given a lot of money. The studios were like, hey, that was popular, like, let's make another one. And the way I see Escape from LA, that I don't think a lot of people do, is I see it more as a satire on remake culture that was way ahead of its time. Because Escape from LA and Escape from New York are the same movie, just with different cities, and Escape from LA is more tongue-in-cheek than New York is.
Right.
And when that movie came out, critics hated it, except for Ebert, who gave it 3.5 stars. Like, Ebert understood what they were trying to do, and I think a lot of people didn't. So I'm a huge fan.
Understood it as satire.
Yeah,
but John Carpenter's never come out and flat out said it's a satire, has he?
No, okay. But no one's really talked to him about it either. It's like when you read interviews with Carpenters or books, like, he doesn't really, no one really seems to really probe him about that.
How do you not basketball.
I feel like if Carpenter was in this room right now, my first question would be about Escape from LA. Like that's because I love that movie, and but I love it in a different way than I love Escape from New York and Halloween. But
but you take it for what it is, you know, and you know that was I think a lot of people thought that
the
they
surfing
were
sequence,
right? No, that's all I when you say Escape from LA, all I picture is the wind blowing in his hair.
Peter Fonda, and you're just like, all right, man, I like this.
Far out, man.
Yeah.
And, or Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell's plastic surgery cameo.
Oh my God!
Or
Wow.
The basketball.
Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi has a
Steve Buscemi. The basketball thing where he's got to run from end to end and shoot hoops. It's so L.A.
I like the soundtrack when I was a kid.
It is. It's a great
Clutches
soundtrack.
on the soundtrack.
Clutches on the soundtrack. Or the White Zombie jams on there. You know, that was the money hit off of that one.
You guys were talking about kind of like your history with John Carpenter, and when I was a kid, I loved Halloween and I loved Escape from New York, but I think I was about 7 or 8 years old. My dad was in a band, and on weekends when I spent the weekend at his house, and sometimes when he was in a band and played at a bar, he would rent me these crazy movies and then leave, and they were my babysitter.
All right.
So he rented The Thing for me when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and that movie was the first movie that I was like, I saw his name in the beginning because he puts his name on everything except for his Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which is justly so. But
God.
So I remember watching The Thing, and when it was over, it was a VHS tape, and I rewound it and watched it again because that to me changed things for me. Especially, I mean, that's a movie about just 8 guys in the snow with crazy effects, and watching it 2 times in a row like that, even the second time after just watching it the first time, I still was like, oh wait, who's The Thing again? Like, he did such a great job of kind of surprising you, and even to like I watch that movie at least once or twice a year, and it still surprises me.
That's how you remake a movie.
When I first saw it, my mouth was kind of hanging open at the end, you know, and I looked to, you know, and I was like, what? You know, I didn't even think about the dog in the beginning, you know?
That scene.
Why
where
are they shooting at the dog?
That scene where the dog, there's a tracking shot down a hallway where a dog, you see its nose slowly push the door open, and the dog slowly walks down the hallway. During the commentary of that movie, because Kurt Russell and John Carpenter do commentary.
No way.
It's an amazing commentary. But he talks about that scene and how, like, they were just huddled up. They shot that scene, like, 8 times or whatever. And that take is the creepiest take in the world. And the dog just naturally was slowly walking down that hallway. But when you watch that, in the middle of the moment, you're like, damn, that dog's creepy. And it works. And it walks into the room, and you see its shadow go in the room with that guy, and you're just like, oh, what's going on? Oh, I love that scene.
So, admittedly here, I'd never seen John Carpenter's The Thing until around the time the remake came out.
Oh, yeah.
And I read a little bit
it's more of a prequel
or whatever, So I read a little bit about it, and I was like, that's interesting. So what I did was I was like, you know what, I don't usually do this with the whole prequel thing, but I'm going to watch the prequel first and then watch John Carpenter's.
So sorry for you.
Oh, man. Like that kind of like, you know, until like, you know, when the very end, it kind of bleeds in. The end of the prequel kind of bleeds into the other.
Yeah. That's the coolest thing about that movie, because my big beef with the prequel is that it shows you when they're changing.
Right.
Where Carpenter didn't do that. Carpenter was just like,
ambiguous.
Hey, man.
That's what that was the master of that.
That's where the fear comes from, is first of all, you're in an isolated place. There's no help. There's no going anywhere.
Yeah.
And
it's the best premise.
You can't trust anyone to be real.
Yeah.
You know, I told you how I was scarred by the Body Snatchers when I was a kid. You know, I thought people were aliens for like 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I saw The Thing a little bit later. Yeah. But I want to throw one other one out, Prince of Darkness.
Oh, of course. I have that on Laserdisc.
You have a Laserdisc player?
I do, yeah.
I need to come over when you're all set up. I want to see the library. I want you to take me through, because you are truly a cinephile, a true purveyor of the filmic arts.
Did you buy a lot of magazines when you were a kid? A lot of film
did,
mags,
but I
like
don't.
the Cinescape and the
film. I used to read Film Threat, which is amazing because I wrote for them later. But I used to read Film Threat and like Fangoria. And, like, all that stuff.
Fangoria. That was, I mean, when I
Yeah.
was 7, that was a go-to.
Yeah.
Mom's going shopping in the grocery store. I'm hitting the mags.
Yeah, the magazine
dude,
section.
and I was just running through
Oh, that's
all
such
the
a glory
horror
time
mags.
with magazines.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if I shared this story before. I'm forgetful, but whatever. I'm honest, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I have friends who are been married for 1,000,000 years. Their first date, they were going to see The Princess Bride, but they couldn't remember the name of the film, so they went to go see Prince of Darkness. That's
the best date ever. Oh,
amazing.
Alice Cooper's creepy.
I love how it
God.
twists Christianity around like in a knot, and it's a very uneven, imperfect film.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of shots don't line up right. There's some choppy editing.
He also, I feel like he made that movie for like $28.
yeah,
you know,
he's been criminally under budget most of his career.
Well, and I think it might be sort of stubbornness, maybe too. He's like, I did it with this one, I did it with that one.
and he hates the studio system. He
Right.
still talks,
So-
and it's probably the reason why he hasn't made a movie.
What was
Have
the-
you seen Prince of Darkness?
No.
Basically, there's this brotherhood of priests.
Is
and-
Mark Hamill in that movie?
No.
Who's the
You're
main
thinking
dude?
of like Sleepwalkers or something.
Yeah. No,
That
I
was-
don't know. I can't remember.
Donald Pleasance actually is in it.
Donald, yeah, you know.
Wang from Big Trouble in Little China is in
Yeah,
it.
yeah, he plays this professor. So there was this brotherhood of
what I'm
priests,
thinking.
and they were monitoring basically Satan in a jar. They've had Satan
Yeah.
in this huge jar in the basement of a church in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And so they captured Satan like 2,000 years ago or whatever. He's in this jar, and it's starting to open. And this priest, Donald Pleasance, goes to Wang, who's a physicist, and says, I don't know what this is. Can you come and study it? And so he brings these physics students for a fun weekend in an abandoned church in the ghetto while Satan's in a jar trying to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
The antics
And
begin.
Alice Cooper's in it.
Yes, Alice Cooper
If I'm not
plays this
mistaken-
like really weird homeless guy who just
Yeah.
like,
He plays Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. And that's why he's like, I'm the Prince of Darkness.
I think the woman from They Live is actually in it too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be
Probably.
mistaken.
They Live.
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, They Live.
You know, Roddy passed away
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah,
but
he certainly did.
But what I thought was nice was all the They Live stuff that started to pop
Of
up.
course.
Enzion did a showing because of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's another great.
See, I
film.
love this.
And this is
I love
setting
this
us
because
up
it's
for
setting
what's
us up for
next.
the thing.
Yeah, I know. They, for any of
And he
you,
used the same opening sequence,
Yep.
that melted plastic bag over lights kind of concept. Yeah.
going back to the thing, for me, it really has like that, like alien feel to it, like, you know,
Because the pacing, like
Yeah.
it's weird because you know we teach a lot of the young kids today, and I showed Alien to a class one time, and a lot of them had beef with it because of how slow it was, and I was like, that's called
That
tension.
happened with
Yeah.
me with Blade Runner.
Yeah.
They're like, that movie sucked.
Yeah.
How, what?
what?
All of you, be gone. Leave.
Yeah.
Leave my presence.
Good
Yeah.
So really, they couldn't get with it.
No, and that was the yeah. It was
They were
pretty
like, "More
brutal.
Avengers,
I had like
please."
eight, and that was actually when Avengers came out. So I was having these conversations with people, and I'm like, "You guys should watch Alien," and that was a huge mistake.
You
Huge
know,
mistake.
yeah.
But the Thing has that, and like that's the thing about the Thing has so many long shots in the beginning that help build that weird.
Yeah,
creepy
because in the
tension.
beginning, just like
Yeah.
a full-on pan back, and the dog's like running across the snow going into the...
Yeah, and it takes like a long time for the
Yeah.
dog to get to the camp. And
They don't even run any credits during that, do they? Or,
it's just that, and then actually no, I
or
think there is credits, but
that's
it's
what
just,
they use there.
Yeah, there's some credits, but it's just you know, someone's about to get murdered.
We were talking about It Follows on our last show.
Oh, I was gonna ask about that. Yeah.
That's got such a Carpenter vibe too.
The
you know?
music is Carpenter-esque.
The music
the
and
shots.
the pacing
Yeah.
and the shots and
Yeah.
all that, and you
Have
know,
you seen- you've
filmmakers
seen-
take
you've
your
seen-
time.
No.
Oh,
man.
okay.
I haven't.
I have it. I could. let you
Oh
know.
my god!
Is it not? It's not streaming anywhere yet, is it?
No.
It's the best John Carpenter movie John Carpenter never made.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the tagline.
Yeah.
Print it.
Yeah, right.
Send me a check.
Yeah.
So, plus it's filmed in Detroit, so you know I thought that was pretty nifty too. So, here we are. We still got Halloween running, and now it's nighttime.
That's right.
And Mike Myers is about to start hunting.
Well, yeah, in these old houses here in Haddonfield, they like to wash or do their laundry in a
separate room,
in a little shack outside of the home.
When I was teaching, I lived in a house that had the washer. This is like in Brooksville, Florida. Horrible place. But,
my neighbor, her washer dryer's in her garage, which is detached.
Mine's in the garage, but it's attached.
Yeah,
so I don't
well,
really have
that doesn't count.
Yeah.
And she's locked in there.
Yeah.
Annie Brackett, you are an idiot.
Yeah.
And
her dad's the sheriff.
Right, her dad's a sheriff, and here, I think about like what Michael's doing here is just walking. He's just walking around really slow, just to look at her through the window again.
Yeah. He's the boogeyman.
That's right.
Or the shape, as he's called.
The shape, yeah, exactly. I tell you one picture that really screwed with me when I was first doing my intense early internet Halloween research, like at HalloweenMovies.com.
Yeah.
I saw the picture of Jamie Lee Curtis kissing, Michael Myers.
Yeah. Who, if I'm not mistaken, in this one's played by Nick Castle.
Nick Castle,
he's the director. He directed like Major Pain or something.
Yeah.
Weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Major Pain.
Yeah.
And I think did he not start out as a stuntman?
I think he was.
Yeah.
And then he started directing.
Oh my gosh, Halloween 2.
My dad had a big black phone like that. You could murder someone.
Right.
Yeah, it weighed like 58 pounds. Yeah.
Did I ever tell you what my my first private line was? You know how kids will get their own phone at some age? So
this is before cell phone.
yes. So anyway, so move in with my dad. My dad had a beer store, and we lived behind the beer store. And when we moved in, my dad said, "I don't want you making any personal calls on our phone line. Here's a roll of dimes. You use the pay phone that's in the store." So my phone for most of high school was in a wooden phone booth in my dad's beer store.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
That's awesome.
He's like, all you need is a dime. You can talk all you want. Because back then the phone bill was based on how many minutes you talked on the phone. And so he was like, you're in high school. You're going to be on the phone all the time. There's no way.
Yeah.
So when I was teaching at West Boca High School, which is like 90210 Boca, and I would explain to them that my first phone was a phone booth. They couldn't even compute. Gone. Just gone. So
it's pretty sweet.
555
don't answer it.
2366.
Yeah.
The call is coming from inside the house.
She was caught in the window.
Perfect makeup,
Annie
perfect
Brackett.
hair.
What a babe.
Well, you
Danielle Harris played her in the remake, right?
Yes.
So it's weird. Before we started here, I was telling you, I interviewed her at Screamfest.
Right, yeah. I wanted
back
to
in
ask you about
07.
Okay.
Which Screamfest is happening, I think, next weekend in Orlando. Here.
Oh, really?
But so I interviewed her, and I asked her this question. I said, hey, so, this is after the first one came out, or the first Rob Zombie one came out. And I asked her, I was like, so how did you feel to be a main character in the remake when you were a main character in the original series? And she said, well, that's weird. No one's ever asked me that question. I never really thought about that. And I was like, how have you not thought about that?
Yeah.
Because you're in the same franchise, but you're just playing a different role. Like, that's kind of strange.
Right.
And she didn't really have an answer for it. She was just kind of like, I don't know. I just saw this as a different film. And it's just like, okay.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, it's a vastly different film.
Yeah.
It's not...
The one thing from the Rob Zombie series that I took that, I enjoyed, because, I have, most of your, after pretty much, I have a soft spot for 2. Just because it continues the story of that night, and I get it.
Of this 2.
Yeah, the original 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then for all the rest of them, I can still watch them, even though most of them, especially once you get to 5 and 6, and then, H2O kind of saved a lot for me. But I thought when Rob Zombie's, what he did really well was, we got to really see kind of what Michael Myers was dealing with as a boy.
Yeah, but that's where the problem goes
because they went too far into
your
that.
Your stepdad's abusive and your mom's a stripper. that's what you got. That's what you're giving us. Like, it's just, I don't know. I thought the whole thing was like a cliched nightmare.
Right, but yeah, and I think I think the scary factor, it is definitely more scary, you know, when mom and dad are just like, hey, you know.
Because in this one, when you only see his parents for like 8 seconds, and they seem kind of normal, maybe,
right?
like he's in a
suit and tie.
Yeah,
it's
like,
Halloween night.
That to me, normal parents. Like making that kind of crazy person is way more scary than like.
But you don't make that kind of 1978 crazy, you know. I mean, I mean, he's born evil. You know?
He
like,
totally
he's got
and that's the thing.
He's
born evil.
Whereas Rob Zombie was like, he wasn't born evil, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, he just kind of had all this stuff going on or whatnot. And I mean, I don't know. I thought it was just cool going back and like seeing them actually like show us a little more of Michael Myers as a kid. But I totally get what you're saying. I mean, once they got into the whole white horse and all that kind of stuff, that was just completely.
Wait, in the Rob Zombie one?
Yeah.
I tried watching 2 and I never finished it.
All right, so I got a great story about Halloween 2. So I was dating this girl, and we went to. It was on her birthday actually when Halloween 2 came out, and we went to the theater, and I can deal with gore, you know, for the most part. But for some reason, once we go into a hospital of some sort or the operating room, that's when I kind of start having trouble. Like okay, so in the beginning,
you couldn't watch like someone getting like a surgery or something.
No,
yeah, I don't like that stuff either.
Man.
I also don't like animal stuff.
Oh, really?
I could watch 400 children get murdered on screen, but if it like someone kills a dog, like in the beginning of John Wick, I was just like, oh, you better kill all those monsters.
Yeah.
You better murder everyone on screen.
Right. Yeah, I totally feel you. Because I remember when I was a kid and like the first time I saw how they like, you know, where do we get our steaks? You know, and they took you to the butcher shop and you see just the cows getting hacked up and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
I read Fast Food Nation when I was like 20 years old, and you know I stopped eating so much meat after that, and now I just don't eat meat at all.
Right, but getting back to the Halloweens and everything, I think that you know Rob Zombie.
I love this, man. Sorry, we're in a.
Oh no, yeah,
it's the classic.
We're in the car.
There's fog on this window. What's going on?
Yeah.
You're about to be murdered. That's what's going on.
Oh, and it's so quick too. Like he makes her, you know, she struggles a
little bit.
It's
because his fist is so. He probably just crushed her larynx right there, just so quick.
Well, he runs the hand across
yeah.
and like you know does the old snap-a-do.
She's wearing like a super sexy.
I know.
Outfit.
Yeah, just killing it. All the.
You have high socks on, an open dress shirt. You know,
all the females in this are just straight, just rocking and rolling, man. But yeah, the Halloween series in itself, I consider that. I mean, that's my favorite. Like scary movie series.
Franchise, yeah.
Because a lot of kids when I was growing up, you know, they watch the Freddy movies and the Jason movies, and they'd be like, "Man, it's so freaky." And
the problem with Freddy especially is that when you boil it down, there's really only like 2.5 good movies. 1 is great.
Right.
3 is pretty decent.
That's my favorite.
It's super 80s, but it's good.
It's MTV all the way.
And then New Nightmare is like, I have a weird love-hate relationship with that movie. It's very meta, and I think it was I think that movie came out now, people would appreciate it more, and I think I haven't watched it in a long time, but the last time I watched it was probably like 6 or 7 years ago, and I liked it more than when it came out.
Yeah.
I agree with you in Halloween, and I actually have a drive-in story. When I was a kid in New Jersey, I was probably 9 years old, Halloween 5 came out, and Jason Takes Manhattan came out.
Right.
So I went to a drive-in. My mom took me to a drive-in, and I saw a double feature of those 2 movies back to back, and it was probably like the greatest night of my life.
Oh my God! Wow.
But now, rewatching Halloween 5 now is pretty hard. I feel like that movie, they were getting ready to shoot something, and it was probably awesome, and then midway through shooting, they just said, "No, we're done." Yeah.
I don't So I mean, Halloween 4, I like that. If they would have gone back to like the old mask, because the mask is inconsistent throughout 4 and 5. Like it changed, and 6 too is really bad. Like how much.
But 6 is where it started to get like weird and culty. And
he started killing people during the daytime. Yeah, and that movie kind of started out with like, okay, well, we've got this chick here who lives in, you know, she's an orphan too, just like Lori, you know, and And like you were talking earlier.
It's weird because I know you talked about Shane Black a few weeks ago, but Danielle Harris, I had such a soft spot for Danielle Harris because Last Boy Scout's one of my favorite films of all time. And she's Bruce Willis's daughter, and she's such an asshole in that movie. But I loved her, and I mean I was 12 or 13 when Last Boy Scout came out, and I saw it. My dad took me to see it, and I remember I was like, man, she is the greatest girl on the earth. I love her.
You know, when they show clips of films, you know, like famous clips of movies. When I was a kid and I saw that film, I thought I'd see a guy running with a football, pulling out a revolver, like for the rest of my life.
The opening of the movie.
I know. It's like it's
the
huge.
best opening of a movie ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When would you think you would see something crazy like that?
Yeah.
So for you, like around this period of time, when October like rolls around, do you yourself like kind of like
I have a marathon.
Yeah, you think to yourself, all right, what am I going to watch?
I switch it up from year to year, but like this year, I rewatched It Follows. I love that film. I think I have some issues with the last act, but I still love it. It's, you know, a lot of new horror movies have third act issues.
Of course. How are we going to finish this?
The Conjuring, such a great opening, and then the last act kind of like, all right, you know.
Yeah.
But I still love it. I love Conjuring. But this year so far, I've watched It Follows. I watched The Thing, but I watch The Thing every October. What else have I watched? I watched The Ruins. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Not a great movie, but it's based on
is it?
Scott Silver, I think is his name, wrote the book. It came out in like 08 or 07.
Okay.
Some kids go to this Mayan ruin, and then they realize that the ruin that they're in is like cursed, and it's got like plants. It's killer plants. It's a weird movie, but it's pretty decent. Gina, that chick from Donnie Darko, and she was also in Sucker Punch. But that girl.
Oh yeah, man, she always plays just like bizarre characters.
I haven't watched Halloween yet, and watching it now is making me really sad. I'm probably gonna watch this tonight, actually. But yeah, Exorcist is a classic of mine.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I'm trying to think of sometimes I watch like.
Now, do you go like the Ernest Scared Stupid route?
I don't. I was never a fan of Ernest, even when I was a kid. Even when I was a kid.
Neither was
and you know,
I,
Ernest
man.
Save Christmas was actually shot in Orlando.
Get out of here. I was never a fan of Ernest, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I used to watch the show when it was on CBS Saturday mornings, but like, you know, I have a buddy of mine down here, man, who's like, you know, Ernest was the best, you know.
Yeah. And I think that was a time. I think if I was younger, maybe if I was just 2 or 3 years younger, Ernest would have been cool. But I was already like, I mean, they came out in the early 90s. I was already like 10, 11, 12,
Exactly,
you know?
And it was to that point in time to where, like, between the ages of 10 and 12 was so huge, you know, and, like, kid stuff, man, it's kid stuff. You know?
And when I was 10, Terminator 2 came out, and that changed my cinematic perception, and I no longer gave a shit about childish things, you know, and because I saw Terminator 2 in the theater, and it was like there was a lot of things happening.
Was that the first R-rated movie you saw in the theater?
No, not at all. Because again, I didn't grow up on Disney movies like normal kids.
Sure.
But that's because you know I'm a child of divorce, and you know when you live in that kind of world, when you're going back and forth between weekends, it's like each parent's trying to outdo each other. So my dad was the movie guy, so I saw R-rated movies all the time. I saw Die Hard 2 in the theater. In that movie, they kill a plane full of people, man. I remember being like 9, 10 years old, and I'm like, what is going on? And every time I got on a plane after that, I was just like...
Oh, God.
You know,
jeez. Because you're at the age there to where it's not just a movie still.
Yeah, it's kind of like, this could be real, right? You know?
Yeah, dude, totally.
But yeah, so like, you know, and one of my favorite memories is when my dad rented The Thing. Hey, kitty. My dad rented The Thing for me. He also rented Total Recall for me when I was... That movie came out in 1990 and on VHS. And two things about that experience for me was I was alone by myself. My dad was in a band playing at a bar somewhere, and I have Total Recall on VHS. And the beginning of the VHS tape had a teaser for Terminator 2, which was directed by Stan Winston. And the teaser was them building the robot in the factory, and then it closes... And it's Arnold. And back then, you didn't know that Arnold was going to be the good guy in the film.
Right.
So I must have watched that trailer like 48 times. And then I'm watching Total Recall. And Total Recall is the most violent, grotesque movie ever. And I loved it. I'm 10 years old. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. So
Sharon Stone.
That's how I grew up. So like, I didn't have room in my life for Ernest or Disney stuff or
Okay.
you know any of that kind of stuff. Like I just wanted to watch.
I was an
people murder
action
people.
movie kid.
Yeah,
man.
Commando.
Yeah.
Predator.
Oh,
Predator
geez.
was like, and if I had GI Joes, I would pretend that there was Predator. You know,
Yeah.
like I would
Oh, right,
I would
yeah.
make one of my GI Joes Predator, and then the rest would be like Dutch. You know?
Right. Right. You're too busy pushing pencils. Oh man.
The handshake, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Just
handshake.
flex as hard as they can. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the band Arno Core?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, my
they do all those like weird
Oh yeah.
Schwarzenegger songs.
The Total
yeah.
Recall Jam is
Yeah.
fantastic. But yeah, I was a child of Stallone, man. I mean, I watched
me too.
Van Damme, like the Schwarzenegger,
I saw-
Van Damme, Stallone, Don the Dragon Wilson.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Late Night,
Yeah.
Black Belt
When
2.
they used to do like USA Up All Nights and stuff.
Yeah, but that was also like you could catch a night on like Showtime or Cinemax in between like a skin flick where they'd show like a hardcore karate movie, but it would still have tits and ass, So
I saw before I knew who John Woo was.
Okay.
93 Hard Target came out, and I didn't know anything about John Woo. I went to the theater to see that because I thought I was 12, 13, just thinking it would be. Like just Van Damme killing people. And there's a scene in that movie where he's standing on top
motorcycle.
of a motorcycle and he shoots with like a gun, an Uzi or something.
No
and he's like
wind.
doing this.
Yeah.
No, his mullet's in like slow motion.
yeah, but I mean, it's like, dude, it's
And then he hits the car, flips over it, and he kind of lands but falls back. And I remember being in the theater
Full
looking
denim.
over at my friend and just being like, that was awesome. And now when I watch it, it's like, this is completely ridiculous. But I love it.
Full denim.
Full denim.
Full
Yeah.
denim.
He has a denim shirt tucked into his tight denim jeans with his work boots, like his Timberlands or whatever.
And he's like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do Time Cop.
Yeah.
And
Time Cop, produced by Sam Raimi.
Yeah, now see, Time Cop, man, I kind of have a soft spot
I have a
for
soft
that
spot for
flick.
Time Cop.
But also, too, though, I think Time Cop, who is the female? Is it Natasha Henstridge in that
No,
movie?
she was in Maximum Risk.
Maximum Risk.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but I mean, golly, man, the very first, 5 minutes of that movie is just like Van Damme just going to town on some chick. And I was like, whoa, this is too soon. This isn't like a normal Van Damme movie. I mean, give it, let him meet the girl
Walk
first.
me in, man. Just buy me
Van
dinner
Damme's
first.
like, I'm Time
Yeah.
Cop. I'm totally going for it right away.
Yeah.
And I think it was like in Van Damme's contract. Like he was like, I'll do this movie, but I have to have a love scene.
Yeah, I know. We're going to pull it back to John Carpenter because there's a movie I want to bring up.
Sure.
But did you ever... Oh, I lost my train of thought now. Well, let's go back to John Carpenter. I'll probably come back. Oh, JCVD. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, but I've seen the
You
monologue.
should.
That's the only part
You
I've
should.
seen.
It's a really good movie. And I thought when I saw... Because I saw that movie at a festival somewhere.
Okay.
And I remember seeing that movie, and when it was over, I was like, oh, man, this movie might bring him back from the dead.
Right.
And it never did.
Right.
And never did. And he was in Expendables 2.
I hear he's
and-
just a pain,
Yeah, he's-
in
yeah.
general, he still thinks he's he won't acquiesce to what he could do, you know, because...
And I wish he would follow Stallone's example, because Stallone was like, okay, I peaked in the 90s, and I mean, Stallone's nominated for an Oscar for writing, and a lot of people don't associate, and producing. He produced Rocky, he got nominated for Best Picture for that. Like a lot of people...
Best Picture.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that about Stallone. And then he did a lot of problems in the 80s. He directed the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, which is a horrible movie.
I disagree.
So wait, you're the guy who likes what is it called?
Staying alive, man. The
His
Stallone cameo, dude, when he's got that big I don't even know what it is.
God, that
Stallone
movie's
has
so
on.
sweaty. I feel
Oh,
like
dude, it is so bad, but it is so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, sweaty
Yeah.
as in
First
every scene they're
Blood.
soaking wet.
That's another movie when I was a kid. First Blood, which people today don't understand that Rambo, the first Rambo movie, isn't what he is now. It was a social commentary on coming back from Vietnam and how our country treated
a
those
book.
people. Yeah, and First Blood, even when I watch it, still makes me emotional. Like it's an amazing movie. He's amazing in it, and I don't think what Rambo became is kind of insulting. But that film is a great film, and that's another film that I loved when I was a kid.
I loved Richard Crenna when I was a kid, man.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
Stallone kind of came back. When he did Rocky Balboa, He brought it back kind of to its roots, and it's good. And I'm kind of excited about Creed, but the director of Creed is the guy who did Fruitvale Station, and so good.
Yes, that's why I think that Creed is going to
and it looks good.
We think that we're going to see a lot of punching, but I have a feeling
I think it's mostly going to be drama.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that because Rocky's a drama.
Right, and we won't see Rocky, I bet, until probably third act.
Yeah.
Start of the third act.
And I hope so.
Yeah.
And I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
But then and he did Rambo 4 and I love that movie.
Yeah.
But
oh my god, it's just a fight. The whole movie.
Stallone kind of he fixed himself, and he did Expendables knowing what people wanted, and 2 and 3 were too much. But
sure,
I think Van Damme should have followed that suit, and still Schwarzenegger's after his governorship, he kind of came back and started doing some like cheesy movies, but.
He's just giving the fans what he wants, and he knows he can get a good paycheck from doing it.
Yeah.
I think that Stallone really diversified himself was when he did Copland.
Oh, I love Copland.
Yeah, like that movie. I mean,
Copland
it's not even like
amazing.
Stallone.
It's not, and he's so good in that role that you kind of forget that you're watching Stallone. And I feel that way about Arnold in Terminator 2, actually. I feel like he's so good that when I watch it, I don't feel like I'm watching Arnold. I feel like I'm literally watching.
Do you think that's his best film, like hands down, Terminator 2?
Yes.
I'm a Conan guy. I prefer
the first Conan.
Conan over Terminator 2, but then Terminator 2.
But they're two different films.
Sure, absolutely.
Like it's a hack and slash, like I'm gonna bang chicks and cut people's heads off.
Right.
And I love it. And John Milius, which I don't know if you know this, but John Goodman's character in The Big Lebowski is modeled after the guy who directed the first Conan, John Milius. He wrote the dialogue for the Indianapolis conversation in Jaws when Quint tells that story about being on that guy who directed Conan co-wrote that scene.
Wow.
Right? And the Coen brothers based John Goodman's character Walter Sobchak in Big Lebowski on John Milius.
The whites.
So, yeah, I could kick out dumb, nerdy trivia.
Holy shit, man. So, like, okay, so then I went and saw Jaws when they did the anniversary of it a few months back. And
that movie in the theater.
That scene still, it looks so good, dude.
Universal City Walk, their theater used to show movies every weekend. They would show a classic movie. I actually saw Terminator 2 there. Total Recall I saw there. I saw Jaws, Psycho, The Birds. They used to do all, and they don't do it anymore.
Wow.
The only movie they really show is Rocky Horror, but that's cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, that conversation, every time I watch Jaws, whatever I'm doing, because like I've seen Jaws so many times now that I kind of like, I can put it on and just do stuff.
Right.
When that conversation comes on, I stop what I'm doing and like I'm there because that's one of the finest monologues in all cinema.
Did he get Best Supporting for that?
I think he might have been nominated, but I don't think Jaws.
No, I know he didn't get it, but did he get nominated? Because I mean,
dude, I don't know. Let's check it out, man.
That's
like Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw is so good in that. But and the way he delivers it, it's like you believe that Robert Shaw was there.
Right.
And like and that's the amazing thing about that scene.
Yeah. Jaws is kind of a Halloween-y movie, man.
It is.
You can watch Jaws around Halloween.
You totally can. I mean, when I was a kid, man, that scene would always get me where Dreyfus is underwater and
the body falls out?
No, the head.
The head.
He's like looking through the body.
Oh, dude. First time I watched that with my parents.
And that movie's PG.
Yeah.
And when that kid gets murdered and it's like a
blood. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. It's
it's so good. So good.
I know, and I mean, I remember when I was a little boy.
Shaw did not get nominated, which is so sad.
But. Well, I remember when I was a little boy and Jaws 2 premiered on ABC. And
I remember that.
So excited.
So and as a kid, I actually liked Jaws 2.
It was the water ski scene that I loved the most.
And the cable.
Yeah.
Roy Scheider's just like, I'm going to hold this big cable. Now when I watched it, I'm like, ugh.
That was straight up. I mean, I don't know if he signed a deal to do a sequel or what, but that was a paycheck for sure.
Let's go back to Carpenter for a second.
Okay.
So Halloween 3. How much do you know about Halloween 3 and why Halloween 3 is what it is?
Okay. I'm so glad you're here because I'm going to tell you the little that I know about the film, and you can go ahead and explain to me what it should have been. I first watched that movie on television, I'd always
as did I.
Always saw
I saw it on USA.
Always saw the box at the movie store.
Yeah,
When I go in the video store, I go right to the horror section.
Oh, me
Just
too.
Look at boxes.
Me too.
And so went right to. I'd always see that movie sitting there, and then it came on, and I was like, "Wow, this has never really been on TV that I can remember." Mm-hmm. And I remember
I still get that song stuck in my head.
It was late. Yeah, the music is really good in that movie. But that's because Carpenter did it. Though. But I remember I taped it late because it was coming on late, and I had to go to school the next day or whatever. And it was like one of those you just set it to record, and you get about an hour of television before it, and in the middle of the tape it comes on.
You put it on SP or EP or whatever.
Oh yeah, 4-hour play, totally. Yeah, 4 or 6 hour play, whatever it was. And so anyway, I watched the movie, and I mean, I knew the movie didn't have Michael Myers in it, but when the kids, I was young enough to where when the kids are watching TV and they see Michael Myers, and they're showing Halloween, and I'm like, wait a minute, is this like a news report, or, is this going on in the same area or whatever, but then once they get into the whole, death masks thing and everything, I don't understand why they even called it Halloween 3.
Word on the street is, Carpenter did one, kind of was done with it, but Universal threw him a bunch of money, so he co-wrote 2.
Right.
And then
produced it.
They were like, hey, here's some more money. And he's like, how many times can I do this? You know what? You want a Halloween 3, I'm going to write a Halloween 3. So his goal was, you know what, man? I'm done with Michael Myers. I've told that story. So I would like to do a Halloween movie every so often that's different. So kind of like an anthology thing.
Right.
So he wrote Halloween 3. The studio hated it. Everyone hated it. It bombed. And that was John Carpenter's history with Halloween. And it's almost like he wrote that movie to kind of get out of it. He liked the money, but he didn't want to keep pushing the story because, I mean, honestly,
Do you think he did that with Escape from L.A. too, then?
No. I honestly think that Escape from L.A. is his... Because Kurt Russell co-wrote it, too.
Because that's the only film Carpenter's gone back to, correct?
Yes. Directing-wise.
I think they did Dracula sequels or whatever, but because he did Dracula 2.
He did Vampire.
He did Vampires. What a great movie, man.
James Woods in that movie, man. No, but I think that
Quicksilver.
If I could ever interview John Carpenter, I would love to, but because I would only talk about Escape from LA, because when I watch Escape from LA, what I see, and I don't know if it's there, I see the greatest remake satire ever. I feel like what he did was, he answered the question, okay, if someone wants to remake my film, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it as a sort of satire-y comedy. Because the tone of Escape from New York and the tone of Escape from LA are vastly different. And
well, one's night and one's during the day, kind of.
Somewhat, yeah somewhat. But I honestly think that they both said, you know what, man? Paramount's giving us a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. Because... I don't know, especially during the 90s, because that movie came out in 96. I think if they played that movie seriously during that environment, I don't know if it would have worked so well. In the 80s, when Escape from New York came out, in 80, I think, it worked perfectly because that was the environment. They were coming off of the negativity of cinema from the 70s, and Escape from New York fits in perfectly with that. But in the 90s, I think things were just coming so bubbly. If you watch movies in the 90s, the tone's a lot different than the 80s and 70s. And I think that they did that to kind of fit in. But I also think that they did that because, there's been talks about an Escape from New York remake forever.
Right, sure.
And I hope it never happens.
No.
Because Escape from LA is probably what an Escape from New York remake would look like. But Carpenter got there first. Carpenter remade his movie first.
Well, I think you throw a chunk of change at Carpenter, you wouldn't you do Escape from Earth.
Yeah, and I would kill to watch that movie.
Save the universe or whatever.
I would start a Kickstarter to make that movie.
An old
Snake Plissken.
Yeah, dude.
You see Kurt Russell now with his mustache pictures from the Hateful Eight.
Yeah,
and it's like I want to see Snake Plissken with that mustache.
Right.
And I would kill. And Carpenter, his last movie was The Ward. And I don't know if it came out in 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
I remember seeing things.
Amber Heard is in it.
No,
not great. And it doesn't feel like a Carpenter movie either. It's almost like he was a hired hand to do it. Because prior to that, his last movie was Ghost of Mars. And I'm going to say this. I love Ghost of Mars.
Oh,
I'm the
really?
only person on the earth that loves it. It's such a dumb movie, but it's like have you seen this movie?
Yeah.
It's got Natasha Henstridge in it,
Henstridge,
and Ice Cube and Jason Statham.
Right.
Jason Statham actually was supposed to be in that Neil Marshall movie, Dog Soldiers, but he didn't do it to do Ghost of Mars. Anyway, there's the infamous
Yes.
unexplained tombstone. But yeah, there's something about Ghost. I saw Ghost of Mars actually twice in the theater because I thought it's a great. If you don't take that movie seriously, it's super entertaining. It's like, I call it a beer movie. It's like a movie.
And I kind of went into that film thinking it was going to be
great, and it's not. It's not great. It's not good.
But that was back when I thought if Jason Statham was on the marquee, it's got to be decent because it was like a year or two after Snatch came.
Yeah,
out.
and I thought Jason Statham and John Carpenter, all right, man.
Yeah.
But no, it's a nightmare. But if it's on TV, which it never is, I watch it. And then he disappeared from cinema. He didn't do a movie for a really long time until The Ward. And if you watch and then he hasn't done a movie since. And I hope that he does at least one more because he's getting old. Yeah. He's climbing up.
He's got to give us that.
Deborah Hill, who was his producing partner for a while, she passed away many years ago. I would love to see a really good John Carpenter movie.
Fastest Michael moves in the whole entire film.
Yeah. So what I wanted to bring up earlier is, I hope you've seen this. I hope you've done your homework. In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, Sam Neill?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man. I think that's John Carpenter's last great film.
Movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I always get that film mixed up, and I think we were talking about it like 1 or 2 episodes ago. I always get that film mixed up with the film he did with Christopher Reeve.
Village of the Damned, which is a remake. It's a remake.
Right. And they're not similar.
I don't love that movie that much, and it's sad.
I watched it because it was Christopher Reeve.
It's his last walking role, literally. It's weird and creepy, but
it's the children that are freaky and children.
Carpenter actually considers Prince of Darkness, They Live, and In the Mouth of Madness or maybe it's The Thing, I think, is in there as an unofficial trilogy.
Really?
Because if you watch them all, they're pretty much the same movie. Thematically, not story-wise, but thematically. But In the Mouth of Madness is just kind of like John Carpenter's take on H.P. Lovecraft. And it's almost like, I kind of wish that Stephen King could act, because if Stephen King was Sam Neill, I think that would have been a much better movie, because Sam Neill is basically Stephen King.
Yeah, it's like a spiral of insanity.
Yeah,
you know, you never stop going crazy in that movie.
And to talk about Stephen King for a second, I love Kubrick's The Shining, but I hate the book, and it's because the book is so light and happy towards the end, and King based his Jack Torrance on himself, and he says that that's the character that closest resembles me. King used to be an alcoholic, Jack used to be an alcoholic, and he's a writer, Jack's a writer.
Right.
You know, and if you read the book, it feels like, oh, that's Stephen King. Kubrick made it completely opposite.
No, how did that work out? When do you know about, like, when Kubrick made The Shining, did he directly meet with like King?
I don't think he did at all, but Kubrick was incredibly reclusive, and there's a book written by the guy he co-wrote Eyes Wide Open with, or Eyes Wide Shut, and the book's called Eyes Wide Open. They only met one time, and they collaborated on the screenplay apart, and back in the day, the way I understand it, that Kubrick read the book, and he's like, oh man, I think I could tell the story better, and that's what the film is. The film ends with Jack freezing, and and so he stays crazy. And in the book, Jack redeems himself and burns the hotel down, so that the hotel never does anything else. And Kubrick was like, no, I think it's scarier if the hotel stays and Jack stays crazy. And King hates that movie, and a lot of reasons why he hates it is because Jack is such an kind of biographical character for him that Kubrick completely changed it. Changed it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely...
the sewing needle.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael, you could be a little more accurate with your swipes there, but he's just starting.
This is another film. Ebert gave this film 4 stars. I talk about Ebert a lot because I love Ebert. And he gave this 4 stars.
They're doing a movie on
Yeah,
Siskel and Ebert.
with who's playing Siskel or who's playing Ebert? I already forgot, but yeah, I'm pretty excited about
Yeah.
it. Did you see Life Itself, the documentary?
No,
Brutal book, but he was alive obviously when the book came out. But the film, Steve James directed a movie called Hoop Dreams back in the day, which is
right.
one of the greatest documentaries of all time.
Was that
The basketball documentary.
Yeah.
And it's infamous because when the Academy was screening that movie, they walked out on it. So it never got nominated for Best Documentary. And if you watch that movie, it's one of the greatest documentaries of all time. So Ebert wrote about that a lot. So Steve James was like a huge Ebert fan. So Steve James was like, I'm going to direct Life Itself. And of course, when they started working on the film, Ebert was dying. So the film is kind of Ebert's last hurrah. And it's really brutal and sad to watch. But
Oh man.
But yeah, Ebert was an early champion of Halloween, and Ebert was so popular even back then that I kind of think that Halloween got a better chance at becoming popular because of Ebert.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, when you think about Halloween, the cast in itself, they got no A-listers.
Well, Donald Pleasance was an A-lister back in the day. I mean, he was in The Great Escape. You know what I mean?
Right, but
yeah.
But still though, I mean, was he?
Jamie Lee Curtis was like brand new.
Right, she was fresh, man.
Yeah, and then none of these other people, you know, they were nobodies.
Yeah.
And even Carpenter, he made Assault on Precinct 13, but other than that, he wasn't like a draw yet. And prior to Blair Witch, this was the highest grossing independent film of all time.
I know, it's such it's such a shame that he got taken off by Blair Witch, but you know, I mean, in this day now, I'm sure that there are a ton more independent films that have made more money than Blair Witch.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw that in the theater.
Yeah.
Oh man, the final chase here.
Yeah. God, her pants, man, they're so high.
I know.
And sadly, that style's back in fashion. Kids today watch this movie and they're like, "Oh man, she was hip back then."
Pants.
I know.
Yeah, right.
Why do her pants end at her neck?
Probably the dumbest move she makes in the entire film is going into the closet.
Well, it's the dumbest move of any. But again, she didn't. This movie came out before an army of slashers came out, so she didn't know better.
In my opinion, this set the tone. You know,
it totally did.
You know, you have your you were talking about earlier, your Psycho, to where that kind of has that slasher feel to it. A few more films around a little before this came out that I think kind of freaked people out. Did Taxi Driver come out in 81?
No, 70.
Okay. And I think I've read that Taxi Driver kind of just, I don't know, the whole killing influenced here. But obviously when Carpenter, you know, was cast in this film and, you know, he's introduced to Janet Leigh's daughter, you know, I mean,
when I was talking about the negativity of the 70s cinema, that's Taxi Driver's actually like, that's the film I always think about. And it started with Easy Rider in 69. Like
Right.
Easy Rider came out and people were like, holy, because it's the most negative and depressing movie ever towards the end. And then the 70s came out and you have people like Coppola and Scorsese and like they're making these movies that are just so against everything that the 60s was about. And this movie I feel like is directly influenced from that era.
well, we have so much fun here at Matty Loves Podcast. Our conversation with Mike Ferraro will continue next week as Halloween is but a week away. For Dr. Tom Lucas and our super special guest Mike Ferraro, I'm Matt de Simone, and you've been listening to the evil of Matty Loves Podcast.